Ladies, gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. It's a pleasure to welcome you here. My name is Pio Marolla and I'm the CEO of ThinkLinkers. And I welcome you all to this session today when we're going to talk about data strategy, the importance of a data model. Because really, let's face it, a tool does not define a company, it does not define a strategy. We need to start first in order to make sure that even when we select a technology to do certain things, we know what to do in the first place. So the goal today is to go through the various steps to ensure that when you are selecting a tool, you have already a data strategy in place and a data model that supports that. And I have two great guests today, actually, from our expert partner, Bluestonex. I have the pleasure to welcome Feroz Khan and Jakob Harrison, who will be speaking and walking us through these various steps, all the homework that needs to be done, why a data strategy first is the correct approach, and so on and so forth. Now, before we get into that, I'd like to ask you, where are you coming from? I'm speaking to you from Yerevan, the capital of Armenia. It's an unusually cloudy day today of what is a remarkably long winter, but we're really looking forward for spring to kick off. Now, who do we have here in the comments? We have Sabina here, we have Natalia, Liuda is with us as well, and Mirna, of course. So, to begin with, let me remind you, you're very welcome to ask questions. Your questions, trust me, I will read each and every single one of your questions to make sure that, we can give you good answers. We can debate a little bit over a few of the steps that perhaps are a little bit, deserve more attention. Welcome, Malin, from Denmark. Full sun here. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Very good to hear. And welcome. Now we have Tashkent. We also have Essen, Germany. Perfect. Gabriela with us, Scotland. And Annie from Yerevan. Okay, that's a big pleasure to have you all here. And again, we will be looking at every single one of your questions. Zib, it's a pleasure to have you as well with us. Krakow, Poland. Jerome from France. Okay, that's an amazing crowd, actually. And Alberto, Bruxelles. Now, again, the goal today is to make this conversation as interactive as it can possibly be. And the reason why I believe there are so many great participants today is very much based on the fact that sometimes data management initiatives are tool-centric. But the reality is, tools are rarely the reason why data management initiatives fail. It's much more about the strategy. It's much more about, alignment between the different departments. It's more about the culture that there is around data. And I believe that, we're starting to learn that. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from Feroz and Jakob what they have to say about it. What are the steps that organizations need to undertake in order to make sure that data management initiatives succeed? So, without any further ado, let me call on stage Feroz and Jakob.
Good afternoon or good morning, everybody.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, folks.
Very good. Welcome on stage. Pleasure to have you here. And let us begin. For those in the audience that don't know about you, let us begin with a short introduction.
Yeah, I can go first, Jacob. Yeah, thank you very much for having us, Pio, here. It's a pleasure to be talking about this topic. I'm excited. So my name is Feroz Khan. I'm the co-founder, CTO at Bluestonex. My area of interest is mainly master data. I live and breathe master data. So anything to do with the product innovation, development, strategy, services around master data. So within Bluestonex, I look after that part of the business. I won't go into too much of a detail to keep it short for now. hopefully during the conversations, I can share my more thoughts on this. So over to you, Jacob.
Yeah, thank you, Feroz. Yeah, I'm Jakob Harrison. I'm the account manager for our customers here at Bluestonex. So kind of help walk them on that data journey and any other transformations they may be doing, connect them with the right members of the team, and yeah, ultimately helping you achieve your data goals along the way.
Excellent. Very good. So let us start from the very beginning. If a company is just starting out, it's starting its data journey, what are the first steps that they really should take before selecting any tool?
Yeah, so the first thing that we would generally advise companies to do is focus right at the core on what their business objectives are. So what exactly are the objectives of the business in the next, let's say, 5 years, and what they want to get out of the data journey? What is it doing right now? What do you need it to do? Obviously, so again, like starting at the core. And I would ultimately look again at the second point of what your different data objects you'd be requiring to look into more detail on based on your industry. Are you a major manufacturing company who needs to look at your materials? Are you a food and beverage company who needs to look at follow-on functions like pricing for getting into your suppliers? Or would that be of no value to you? So find the value points of your different data objects. We'd also kind of recommend that they look at their existing ERP solution, so enterprise resource platform solution, whether that's SAP, Maximo, or Oracle, or whatever else you use, really. How do you see the tool, or the eventual tool, sorry, integrating within that, and can it integrate with it? There's obviously the overall architecture side. Do you run a cloud-based or on-premise environment? Do you need it to be public cloud, private cloud? These are all things you should be considering at step one. And the last thing to consider really is, before you select any kind of data tool, what do you need it to do, not just in 6 to 12 months? What's it going to do in 3 to 5 years for us? Especially in the modern world, AI is the buzzword. Is it AI compatible? Does it allow for things like process automation? Can it connect to multiple different ERPs? So, for example, you may have a major transformation coming down the line where you're switching ERP or upgrading versions. Can it support that, connect to that pretty seamlessly as well? And what are you hoping your eventual vendors, R&D teams are working on to really help you meet those goals?
Interesting. So you recommend looking long term, really? Like 3 to 5 years is indeed quite a lot of time, considering how technology is evolving and how also
Absolutely
new things appear and they shift a bit the attention, the attention in the organization. But I completely understand that. It makes perfect sense. I mean, we're really talking here about building building something that is supposed to support the organization long term, whatever the technology comes or arises.
Absolutely.
So, and when defining a strategy, what should they define first? I mean, what's really the beginning of it when defining a strategy?
I can take that, Jacob. So the first thing and the most important one, I think Jacob has already touched upon this, the vision. Where do you want to be? And it's not just the vision, it's also what I find it very surprising when I speak to customers is, they miss the trick early in the process is we don't document the measurable realistic business outcomes. So you need to know, what you're trying to achieve. And most important to me is, are you able to measure that outcome and align it with the business? Now that becomes your ROI. If you are able to compare it, then after you have implemented a solution or a product or a tool, then it's all good. If you're not able to measure it, then you're missing the trick. Now, when I say measure, it doesn't need to be monetary. I mean, there are various parameters. I won't go into too much details, like process improvements, the quality of the data, and there are so many parameters that can be measured, not just time saving and money saving, all those aspects. So that is the most important to me, is the vision, is the outcome, the business outcome, and can you measure it? That's the first thing needs to be there before you go into the data strategy, before you buy in any product. Then data ownership. Again, we find this very often when we speak to customers. They don't really know where the data should sit. So early in the stage, you need to establish the data ownership. Don't keep it with the MDM team. Don't keep it with the IT. Don't keep it with a few individuals. Just push it out to the individual. The second important point for me is also data governance model. Have you established the data governance model? Before you go into the details, and then, like Jacob said earlier, is also look for areas of improvement. Just don't look what you currently do, and don't confine yourself to just to I have a way of working, and then I need a tool that works around my processes. No, think out of the box. Think AI is the buzzword these days. Think of automation, think of AI. Look beyond your current processes before you go into the real establishing a data strategy.
Okay, and how do you balance a long-term strategy with the short-term results? Because it is my perception that the business wants to see something tomorrow.
Correct. And that is very common, Pio, and we see this. Then it comes down to what is my MVP, minimum viable product, right? Again, the data strategy would come in first. You need to know where you want to be in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year. So you need to have a clear roadmap of that, and then you zero in on a minimum viable product. Don't go ocean boiling, what we call them. Start small, realize the benefits, then move on. So scalability is also important, and that's where the tool selection come into place. What kind of tool are you going for? Are you going for a big bang tool that gives you everything, but then it takes you 10 years to realize the benefits? That's not what you want. So minimum viable product is the recommendation, is the approach from us then in that case.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe just to add on to that, if that's okay, Pio, I think that what we generally look for within our personal customer base is obviously the champions who come to us in the data areas will be, like you said, looking to get their management approval and show the management it can fix it tomorrow. So we generally would, and most places would do it, work on a 6 to 12 months ROI plan, but that shouldn't detract from what it can be in 3-5 years time. But yeah, of course the ROI is there, but it shouldn't completely detract from it.
Yeah, I completely see that. And is there anything that data professionals should do or can do to facilitate the process of approval for a data strategy or for a data management initiative in general? Because there is pushback often. One is related to the timing, the other one is related to the fact that everyone is looking into AI and data is less cool from the for the C-suite. So is there something that data professionals can do to make this less of a pain?
Yeah, I mean, the common problem what we're seeing these days is usually now AI is the buzzword, right? So everybody realized the benefit of the data. Now, one facilitator for putting in the data strategy or going into the data is the clean data, right? Because you want to do an AI. So that could be one of the factors. Like, I need to adopt AI. I need, and we all know, I'm stating the obvious, right? For AI, you need a clean data, and for clean data, you need a data strategy. You need a MDM and MDG tool kind of to be in place. So that could be one push, like to convince the top management that, and the buy-in needs to come in from the top, right? The business needs to own this. Again, we see this numerous times when we speak to customers. Usually that's not the case. The initiatives normally comes from IT. They are facilitating this kind of a deployment. That's, to me, is wrong. The buy-in needs to come from the business for this, and AI could be the driver for this.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And that is so challenging, though. You know, the IT driving it, that's what you usually hear, but the business needs to embrace it as well. Otherwise,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you know, we ran polls and studies over and over, and we've always seen as one of the biggest challenges in data management projects being the misalignment between the AI and IT. Business and IT, right? So yeah, I fully agree with you. They need to work together. Otherwise, data project will be short-lived and will leave a lot of potential on the table.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. Now, we talked about tools in the beginning, and you know, we walked through some of the reasons why it's so important to look at strategy before you select tools, because unless you know what you want to do, you don't know what tool you use, right? But what are the risks associated with starting with tools instead before a strategy?
I know Feroz can talk for a long time on this one and does a lot, so I'll let him take this one.
Right. So, Jacob, do you want me to take this up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know this is a topic you know very well.
Yeah. So again, this comes down to the same thing. Like, normally it is driven by the IT, right? So the mistakes we do is normally is we let IT do the technology selection for you without looking at what the business needs. So a typical scenario, how this is driven normally in the businesses, and this is based on the experience when we speak to customers, is business would say, I have a problem with the data. The natural tendency is to go to the IT look for a quick fix. They say, you're missing a data governance tool. So what they do is they go out and they look for the technology part of it without aligning to the business outcomes. That's the biggest mistake you do, because then you are bought into this idea that you need the tool, and the selection has been made because X, Y, and Z reasons. It fits into the architecture, or the customer has already got the license for that product. It was hidden, or it was sold as part of the deal, and then the business are bought into that idea that now they have the tool, that they need to work with that tool. So it's more of adopting that tool to your business needs, and that's a very common mistake. And uh, now that AI has come in, and that has accelerated now, because the CIOs is going to say to IT, are we looking at AI to help with my data management and data strategy, data governance? Again, the natural tendency is IT is going to look for AI enabled tool. Now, whether they really solve your business problem, probably not, because you haven't done the data strategy, you haven't done the data model, you haven't set out the vision for the for the business. So until you have done that, then yeah, you'll end up into a problem buying into the technology that doesn't work for you, and you end up redoing the work.
Yeah. 100%. Now there's a question here. What are you struggling? What are you struggling with the most? With the alignment, with tools, or with ownership? What do you think is the toughest thing to get right?
I mean, the technology comes later. Where we see most of the problems is the alignment, the ownership of it. You won't believe it, Pio. Like when we speak to the customers, people really don't know where the data comes from. Yeah, and it's so surprising when we speak to them and say, okay, do you know where this data originate from? Oh no, it's in Excel. It comes in. No, it doesn't come in by magic. So I think that is the biggest problem. The companies are not matured enough now to establish those standards, the data ownership of it. If the company is matured in that area, then the technology is a lot easier. I say technology is a lot easier than doing the business alignment is the most important one. Having the data ownership, having the data strategy is the biggest problem, and the buy-in from the business is the biggest problem, I would say.
Yeah, it's always been challenging, and But yeah, again, as you were mentioning before, AI could be a driver in this case, because yeah, I mean, every company seems to, wants to get on board with that, wants to use AI, and often it's just a conversation about, if you haven't established a strategy, well, first of all, if you don't have data foundations to back whatever use of AI you're going with, yeah, it's just jumping in the dark a little bit, isn't it? So I find AI can be a good driver for the business finally taking notice of the importance of data. Now, we talked about data model. How do you build a data model? What is a data model? Why is it so important? So let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can take that one. So the way to think about data models is the blueprint. If you worked for a house building company or a property development company, you wouldn't build that house without first having a blueprint in place of how it's going to look. You shouldn't have a data tool without a blueprint of how your data management and data governance is going to be in that period of time. So the data model acts as that foundational blueprint and helps with scoping and giving you understanding of time and effort required to build out your business case, build the solution that you need, not just from what a future vendor will need, but what your internal effort is going to be to get it in a solution ready, for lack of a better term, place. So you can lay out a foundational approach, and it really helps you cut out the noise, I guess, of all the outside and external factors and really hone in on the necessary areas of your master data project. So it helps you zone out the buzzwords and just hone in on what you require and put it in black and white. I think you mentioned how to start with those, Pio. So the ways you would start it is, first off, clearly define the data you need. So I've already touched upon objects, different types of data, business partner, customer, material, whatever it may be, but also what the attributes of those data is. Is it short text, long text data? What the workflow would be, what the business rules would be, mandatory fields, non-mandatory fields when being created, and the validation and approval process as well from when the data is created to where it is approved. What is the middle ground? Is there a middle ground? Does it need to be enriched by a different department, for example? We don't know there. And in that same process, you can rationalize those requirements, remove the redundant requirements, the redundant data, the things that aren't true needs, things you can just get rid of. And it also gives IT and business, back to Feroz's point about how they need to work together, a chance to challenge one another on what those requirements are, which I think is something that is really important in that initial data modeling, initial process. And in that same process, you can define relationships between the different data sets, the IT-owned ones, the business-owned ones. How are they going to work together? And how do they work together in the process? And finally, you can define what your data flows are as well. So who owns the data, how secure is the data, and how is it going to flow across the organization?
Very good. There's a comment here. Where does the data come from? Said every data team ever.
Absolutely.
And there's a question here from Alberto. Are we talking about conceptual, logical, or physical data model?
I mean, it is the data model is the logical data model that you hold within your backend SAP system. So it's not a physical. We're not talking about where your physical disk space or the servers needs to be. So this is more about logical data model that you have or that you manage within your enterprise planning systems or any other cloud-based solutions. So.
Okay, very good. Now, also here there's a comment from Jerome. There is business, IT, and data, which should be an image of the physical reality. Yeah, I mean, would you, Jerome? Would you basically? How do you see it? Like, do you see it separate from the idea of business and IT, or like something objective that companies can rely from? We'll get back to this one as soon as we have something more from you. Now, let's say we've built a strategy. We have defined the data model. It's time to look at the tool. What should companies look for in a tool?
Very good question, and a very common question as well. So I think a lot of this will be things we touched upon in the foundational discussion, but again, Feroz, feel free to fill in any gaps I may miss. But for me, the compatibility with the existing and potential future back-end ERP system is number one. One, will it integrate and is it certified within the solution? If not, can it connect through other middleware methods? How many will it require? And what is the risk of any of those dropping at any given time if it doesn't directly connect to the ERP system? I would be looking for the best possible user interface, how user-friendly it is, and how easy they can adopt it. Obviously, the ability to go from creating a record to changing a record to enriching some data all in one screen, for example, is really important. The ability for people to very clearly see their task list. You need to create this, you need to approve this, whatever it may be, and kind of see things are overdue. Make it really easy to do your job right, as any system should be treated the same within data, because a lot of people who use the tools are not quote unquote data team, data experts. Business may be importing it. You need to make it as easy as possible. We've already touched upon coverage of the relevant data objects that you've seen in the data model. So I would be making sure that this tool could hopefully cover it out of the box and immediately connect and configure. But if not, can they create it as a custom object, and how difficult would that be? How long will that take in line with your business requirements? And last but not least, and it's quite appreciate it's a bit of a long-winded answer, but value for me is the last thing, first but last thing I'm going to touch upon that I'd be looking for. So cost of it is obviously one thing that every business has to weigh up. You've all got your budgets, you've all got the limitations in that regard, but how much is it really giving back? So if you're paying if you're paying X amount of money for a system, but that system is going to save you 2 or 3 full-time employees who have been able to be freed up, for example, to work on other projects that are going to generate further revenue for the business, that's your ROI, that's your value. And I'll round this one off with a really quick example. So we've got a customer who has, in the retail space, have one particular guy, senior IT head, been there around about 30 years. He built an in-house MDM tool, and we all saw it. And to be truthful, and Feroz will tell you this, it was brilliant. But it was built in 1999, and he was the only person who was able to actually work it inside out, so they got that single point of failure. So when we deployed the solution on our end, he was able to be freed away. He's now far more valuable to them as a business than he was in 99. So for him to be able to go on other projects and free up his time, and other people can do configurations, small fixes, small changes, that's paid back kind of tenfold there. So value, identifying the value to your business to bring that back together. But just thought I'd finish up with a real example there to make it more relatable to our audience.
1999. I mean, it was more like alchemy or something.
I think it was Excel based, if I remember correctly. But with all the different workflows, it was fantastic, and there's nothing to slight it. But
yep. Absolutely.
Of course, you need more people than one person to be able to do that in your organization.
Absolutely. Now, Jerome is back. Businesses have a vision, but sometimes we should show the good way.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, I was gonna just add on to that. They have a vision, but where sometimes I struggle based on the experience when you say, is it realistic and measurable? Are you setting out yourself like blue sky thinking, which I need this, I need this. Business needs everything. Is it measurable? Is it realistic? In that, what we talk about, is it minimum viable product? Otherwise, you go into this lengthy cycles where you, at the end of 5 years, you don't achieve much. So that's why it's important. Yes, you have a vision. Is it measurable, realistic, and at the end of it, you get something out of it.
I think there should be some tact also in communicating this, because sometimes people don't like to be told that they're wrong. And yes, of course, data, rather than having an antagonistic role to what might be an intuition or a very, very good intuition by the business, it should rather be something enriching decision that just, I'm gonna show you how wrong you are with data. I don't think anybody likes that kind of conversation from the business side. What do you think?
Sorry, you're asking me?
Yeah. Any of you two?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, for me, it's always about aligning it with the business outcome, and making sure that at the end of it, you get something out of this.
Yeah.
And that's the most important, because everyone is going to judge based on what you got at the end of it, and is it aligned to my business outcomes. If it is not, then you're not really getting any benefits of any data strategy, any data tool you put in.
Yeah.
And it is just can't be in a year. I mean, it needs to be 4 years, 5 years down the line, that it should be. And this is where IT also plays a very important role, because they have a vision for the IT landscape, IT infrastructure, and it is ever changing, right? So they have an important role to play at that stage, is to align it with the business objectives. So not go down their own path. Obviously, they need to speak to the business. So for me, that is, it always comes back to me. And this is always as part of data modeling workshops and forums. I say, align it with your business outcomes is the most important thing. And then you get a real value for your money then.
That's where the money comes from, after all.
Yes,
absolutely.
So the business needs to be on board. Okay, this comment, okay. Anders, I say people management part is still the most important and a necessary ingredient. Oh yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Breaking down the silos, advocate a particular mindset, generate healthy competition between functions in data awareness and championships, build engagement by use cases. Oh, absolutely. I fully agree with you. What's your
100%.
take? Yep. Let's see. Okay. Without naming names, can you speak about any clients who've made this work? I've listened to a number of these conversations about what should be done, but what about examples of use cases where it's actually being done? What does good look like in reality?
Oh, I mean, we like Jacob, you are the best person to answer, but we have plenty of white papers, use cases. We'll be happy to share it. So I don't know, I can't see the name here, but I think get in touch with us, Jacob. I would say maybe we can run through that. Happy to share all those use cases, white papers. We have plenty of material for you to share that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we at future Think Lab events and things like that will be sharing some customer based stories as well. But certainly happy to help out there. We've got some really good ones across several different industries. I don't want to give you maybe one that might be misaligned to your particular industry. So yeah, if you can reach out and get in touch, I'm happy to walk through that with you.
Excellent. Now, what is your point of view about the role of AI for data management and data governance? Let's finally talk about something that many are looking forward to understand.
Yeah, I can take that, Jacob, and I have some strong views on this, right? Like we said earlier, the switch is mainly driven by the hype that is created around AI, right? That's a fact. I mean, the AI is there because there's so much of attention at the top and there's so much hype. And again, whether the business is ready for it, It's probably not. Does it align with my objectives? Do you have a real use cases for it? Probably not. So the whole AI thing is mainly driven by that hype. So there is a real shift happening now, right? The shift is, which is good. I mean, we never used to hear that the business is taking an initiative now for the data, and this is mainly driven by AI. Simple. I mean, we're seeing this trend now. So the real shift is happening, that data is getting the attention which it never used to. Data was only for reporting, not anymore now. Data is the fuel for my AI use cases. So what it is doing now, it is getting to a stage where I need a clean data, right? And companies or IT is going about cleaning the data. But we're missing a trick here. You clean the data, it's going to get dirty, right? We all understand. I'm stating the obvious, right? Without a data governance, data strategy, or a data management tool, you clean the data, you don't have a gatekeeper, the data gets dirty. So you're back to square one. So you started with the AI journey, you have cleansed your data, but no data management or no data governance in place, you get your data dirty, and then the AI is not going to work, right? So that's a fact. And AI will transform how we manage the data, no doubt about it. I think there are several use cases for it. I can talk about it in more detail. uh, like we keep hearing this, and customers do come to us also, and we have a roadmap for it to be baked into our products as well. So AI will definitely transform how we manage the data, but governance strategy defines, whether you can trust that. That's important too. So hence, to me, I always say that data management, data governance before AI is must. I mean, you can't just jump onto the AI without a gatekeeper. You need to have it. Plus, we know that AI is not going to replace my data management, right? It is just going to sit on the top of my data. So fundamentals needs to be right. Fundamentals are, again, clean data, govern data, and then the AI is going to run on top of it. I mean, that's the very obvious thing to start. Then it comes back to, do you have a data strategy? Do you have a data management tool? And without those, AI is not going to work for you. That we know that, right? The AI that is currently there. I mean, as I said, the role of AI is immense. There are so many use cases for it, but there is a problem with the current AI model, which is it's only making a probabilistic recommendation, right?
Yeah.
So it's gonna say, based on the data pattern, based on the LLMs or the algorithms you have, based on the Gen AI, it's only gonna give you the recommendation. So the current data models I'm talking about, I'm not talking about the AGI, which is gonna be coming in soon. So the current AI, it's only going to come with a recommendation. Now, there is a real problem there. You need someone to govern those recommendations then. So again, comes back to, do you have a data management and data governance strategy in place? So yeah, you have clean data, you run an AI tool on top of it, and it comes back with lots of recommendation. You don't want to let lose your AI agents to correct the data or do some updates to your data. You need a sort of a governance in place until we have a matured AI or AGI in place where we can trust these AI agents to do it for you. The current model as it stands is, you need someone to govern the AI as well. So that's why the whole data management, data governance is so extremely important now with the AI. AI has its own use cases, but the data governance, data strategy would definitely be required more so often than what you never probably. If you don't have an AI, then probably people could manage it with Excel. But if you're talking about AI, you need something in place now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, I fully agree with you, but data governance is not exactly the coolest thing on the planet for the C-level. How do you think data professionals should talk about data governance so that they are not perceived as a hindrance to AI adoption?
I mean, we have to just state the obvious there. As I said to you, the fundamental for the AI is the clean data, and you will never get the clean data until you govern it. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't do the AI until you have the governance, but at least that fundamental needs to be established. At least that data ownership needs to be established, right? In the whole AI journey, and then you can bring in the tools. But companies are not going to wait for it. I understand, because there's going to be a lot of pressure to do AI, but we're missing the trick. I think it all comes down to educating my business stakeholders, telling them the importance of data governance, the data management part of it. Like, without the governance, the data will get dirty. Without the tools in place, the data is good, and that's a fact. I mean, I'm not telling you something that nobody knows. Like, it's there. It's If you don't have a data tool, data governance in place, the data is going to get dirty soon. So you don't need a rocket science to explain the simple fact that you need something in place for your AI to be more effective.
Okay, you talked about educating the business. How do you recommend to do that? Is there something that you suggest your customers to do at a workshop, or any particular way you would recommend?
Oh, we do this very often. I mean, we just say we also have tools that can identify the health of the data, but I'm sure a simple health check done first on your data. And I'm just talking about very simple ones: missing data, duplicate data. A simple health check that can be done offline. You don't need to have a full blown tool or
Mm.
anything. Start simple, I would say. Do your health check first on the data. Then straight away you would know how good you are or how bad your data is. If your data is really bad, you need to correct it. Simple, right? Before you do an AI. But if your data is bad, then you need to identify why the data is bad, and that's all the data governance will come into play then. Because, as I said, it's pointless just correcting the data on its own without the data governance in place. So start simple, do the health data check, and then take it from there.
Yeah. Now, question from Gergo. What opportunities do you see in combining AI capabilities and data governance? Where does the regulation stand?
Yeah, this is what exactly I said, right? AI will come up with all sorts of recommendations. You don't want those agents to do a direct update. That's why you need a governance in place. Now, when I say governance, you need the tool that is capable of governing those AI decisions. So look for tools, like Jacob said, which is AI enabled, right? You have an element of AI, but those are not autonomous agents, right? The agents also needs an approval. So look for tools that can control these AI decision making capabilities.
Mm-hmm. And AI must leverage on well-governed data. Data governance is seen as a hindrance, but actually, yeah, I fully agree with this. It's a line of defense in a way to avert AI
Yeah,
using bad data. 100%.
perfectly. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Now, actually, a question a bit in parentheses. What skill is the most underrated in data today?
Very good question.
I mean, yeah, data stewardships and data ownership also come. It's not just a business function, I would say. Is someone to go and find out the data source. So where we struggle, yes, it's fine to say I need a data ownership, right? But then identifying the source of a data, so that kind of a business analyst skills are missing, I think, from the companies, where they are not able to find the source of the data is not coming from thin air, right? So every data has a source. We have understood that. But how do you go to the source of the data? It needs a bit of a skill, trying to join all the pieces together and say, yeah, that piece of data comes in from X and Y and Z, and this is how it can be integrated. So I think that skill set is highly underrated. People think, yeah, someone in the MDM team is traditionally working with Excel, and they are taking the data and uploading the data, but it's not. I mean, the MDM skills are becoming more relevant when we talk about data governance, ownership. So yeah, I would say you need to have a good skill set around MDM within the business.
I would also say business acumen and communication, because that's what really helps creating this bridge between data as an IT thing versus data as part of the business. Business acumen is necessary for the very simple reason that that there needs to be an understanding that goes beyond the technical one about data. Like, what is this for? What is my company actually trying to do? What is their value proposition? Where are they trying to go in terms of a market? And think about data more in a way of a business person would. That way, whenever there is the necessity or whatever there is a discussion about data culture too, it's much better to start already speaking in a way that the business can understand and empathize with your message. What do you think?
I'd say, yeah, business acumen, as you mentioned, Pio, yeah, I think that is, well, as defined, underrated completely, because it's one thing to be able to create a data record, but again, I feel like I'm repeating what you're saying here, but it is a case that once I create that, what happens at the end of that journey? What does that actually mean in the real world? What happens if I'm late to publishing this? So is a big one. So will it impact my company's revenue, sales? If I don't publish this article, can we not launch this product on the website? It's kind of having that understanding and understanding the criticality of that approach. Any further thoughts from you there, Feroz?
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you and Pio on that one. Is understanding end to end is the most important thing. Knowing what you need at the end of the day, it's also important. Not just working in silos, isn't it? That's why I'm saying, knowing the source of the data and where it ends is very important. You just can't work in silos with the data, because in a big ERP systems or any enterprise management system, the data is heavily linked. You make a change here, it affects 10 different places. So you need to have that kind of a full business knowledge around the impact of making those changes.
Absolutely. Also, Malene mentioned data ownership in its full meaning. There are a lot of data owners saying yes, but they do not own it.
Yeah.
True.
We just had a case very recently where one of our customers wanted to procure a new data object. It was a pricing function, and they had to delay that 3 months because they didn't have an owner in place. So we basically said, no point paying for it if you're not going to be able to have it owned, used, and kind of have someone really taking charge of that. Unless you can put someone in temporarily, wait. Because, I completely agree with that comment, and that is more common than people realize, I think.
Yep. Now, we will meet very soon, actually, next month in Prague. you will talk about, you will have a presentation there as the expert partner of the Data Management Think Lab. So can you give us a bit of a sneak peek about the topic you will?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are sharing a real customer story, which I know that one of the users had asked for. So that could be a good one if you are attending the event. We actually have the customer coming along to deliver the presentation. The customer is RS Group, or you may know them as RS Components, industrial electrical products provider. So they're going to be talking about how they overcame legacy system limitations from their old solutions and modernized their systems to get rid of things like production bottlenecks. They'll be sharing, how they automated the process. So there's actually, I believe, some snippets of a video in the presentation showing how the process goes now, and then we're talking through how it used to work. Now, it was obviously talked about what in one of the questions, give me an example of someone doing it right. So what these guys have been able to do is make their article creation, so web products and delivery products creation process 6 times faster. And they currently create, jump in if I'm wrong, Feroz, but on average about 6,000 articles daily.
Yeah, one day peaked at 19,000 as well.
Yes, did, yeah. So the average 6,000, they peaked at 19,000. And that for them also gave them a customer first operating model. So everything was then driven from customer requirements. So they were able to be proactive rather than reactive to everything as well. So it's a real good transformational story being shared by the senior product owner over there. And he's kind of worked with us every single step of the way. And yeah, it's definitely one to look out for if you're looking at modernizing and accelerating your master data growth, whether it be through needing a new solution or just overall a different process in place. You're going to get a good mix of IT and business input there as well, with it being a product owner, someone who sits in a bit of a hybrid position. So yeah, certainly do come along if you are attending the in-person event. And if you're not, feel free to get in touch and we can share the story with you directly, as we do have a white paper on that as well.
Yeah, very good, very good. That sounds like a transformation that will have a long-term impact as well. You mentioned the proactive approach, which is really fundamental. So yeah, I look forward to learn more about this presentation. Now, for those in the audience that won't be with us in Prague, what would be the best way to find out more about you, find out, of course, ask you some more questions? What would be the best way?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you just want to have a general look at the website, you can just go to bluestonex.com, spell ours in mine and Feroz's names. Any generic kind of inquiries, you can go to inquiries@bluestonex.com. But if you have a direct follow-up question from this webinar, anything you've heard you want more detail on, or you want me to share any of these customer success stories or just general information with you, or even just chat data some more, feel free to contact me directly. It's Jakob.Harrison, spelled as it is on screen, at bluestonex.com. So hopefully hear from some of you, and the rest of you we'll see in Prague.
Excellent. Now, had a great time. I want to thank everyone in the audience for the questions, the great questions, and the great conversation that we had today. Is there any last advice, anything you would like to leave the audience with today?
I'll give that one to Feroz.
Yeah, I would say don't wait for an AI to push you into the data management, data governance stream. I mean, take the initiatives now, start simple, look for a quick wins, minimum viable product. That's what we talk about. Don't data cleansing is not going to it might solve a problem temporarily for the AI to be in place, but you need a good data governance solution. So start small, start thinking about getting a data governance in place before you're pushed down in the road of AI and pushed down the road of data cleansing without having a data governance in place. So my advice is to start looking for data governance now.
Very good, very good. Well, I fully agree with this, of course, and that's why we had the conversation today, right? Because again, the latest technology does not define a strategy. The tool does not define any, like, if you don't know what to do with the tool, it will just collect dust, let's be honest, and be very expensive as well. So it's very important to first understand the strategy behind it and to do the homework beforehand, and to understand and to make sure that the foundations are in place, right? Just as you mentioned, AI did not make data management or data governance any less important. If anything, they're more important than ever, as AI relies so heavily on them that and it's so important also to have good data governance in the first place, due to all the ethical aspects and the regulation side of it. So I would say have a good, there is a reason to have a positive outlook about data, and it's not going anywhere. And I want to thank you again, everyone in the audience. Actually, we might take one more question here, one more comment here from Malin. AI teams tend to try to cleanse data before using it, which makes it impossible to define which data the AI is built on.
That's true. And this is where the problem is. If you don't have a governance in place, ownership in place, you would never know, what your AI is relying on. So it's absolutely, that comes back to the same thing. You need data governance. You need data ownership. Full stop.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, I had a pleasure. Thank you all for being with us in the audience, and I wish you a fantastic continuation of your day. Thank you.
And you.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having
everybody.
us. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you very much, Pio.
Thank you.